All right. Welcome to those people who are already here. Let's give everybody a few moments to get into the room. I just want to make sure everybody's chats are enabled. All right. Those people who have come in, you should be able to open up the chat and say hi there. Why don't you just change the settings so that you are chatting to everyone? Let's give it just a few more moments for people to come into the room. I'm going to also just open up my email here to check that we haven't got anybody knocking on the door from somewhere that they need to get in. It's 1 minute past 12. Let's give it another minute just for everybody to get into the room. Do open up the chat and let me know that you can hear me and that you are successfully here with me. Hey, it says I am Studio, which I assume is the name of your business. Tulani, good. We have got quite a few people who've registered for today, so I just want to make sure that everybody has got in successfully. Let me know where it is you are logging in from, and perhaps also just as a assistance to all of us, a reminder of your business. So Offensive, thank you, Fashion Business. And yeah, let us know where in South Africa or indeed the world you're joining us today on this Friday. I am sitting in Cape Town in a place called Capri, which is in the deep south. And it's overcast day. We've had a beautifully warm week, which I'm very glad about. It looks like we're going to have a ridiculously cold weekend, which is not ideal, especially when you've got two little kids who are a nightmare when trapped inside. But we will make the most of it. Good. Funnabell Park. Jeez, I think how aquaponics. Oh, Tegan, that's super interesting. I actually did years ago, got super interested in what was happening in aquaculture and did a program at Rhodes University around it. I'm very out of touch and far from it now, but it definitely interests me. Good agriculture solutions, brilliant. Only 7-8 people in the room. We have got upwards of 50 people registered for today's webinar, so I'm just going to just check a few things to check that we haven't got any issues with people getting in. It might just be that it is a Friday and people have run out of steam for the week and haven't quite got the energy to get to a webinar session or a startup school on a Friday afternoon. But we'll still make the most of it with those people that are here. I'm going to give it another 30 seconds and take a drink of my orange soda. All righty. Okay, well, I'm giving the last few minutes to seconds to get people in. I'm just going to give everybody speaking, switch enabling microphones so that we can have conversations. Please do keep your mic on mute unless you're talking. Otherwise it just interferes with the sound. So cool. Awesome. Okay, well, I don't want to hold up the start of this. We've got a nice room of people, and I'd like to kick off. So warm welcome to you all. I hope that you're having a good week. So let me start there. Let me know how do you feel today? What is your mood? Pop it in the chat there. What is your mood barometer? You can either give me a word that describes how you're feeling, or you can give me a rating 1 out of 10. 1 is on the really not so good side of things, 10 being you are absolutely fantastic, doing extremely well. Otherwise, just an adjective to describe how it is you are feeling today. What's your mood today? So pop that in the chat. A score out of 10, or just a word. Great. So we got eights, we got tens. Oh, Massimo's at a 4. Anybody want to pop in an adjective? Tulani, extremely tired. Fantastic. Okay, well, I'm not fantastic that you're extremely tired, but probably not an unusual or bad feeling. Somebody said to me not so long ago that, sometimes it feels like we often, when people ask us how we're doing, the first thing we think about is just how tired we are. And then we start feeling guilty because we're feeling tired. And I think what I want to encourage you to think about today is it's okay to be tired. It's because you're working hard. It's because the world is quite stressful at the moment. And we are human, and human beings need to rest. So being tired is part of the human experience. So do not feel guilty for feeling tired. And I'm very glad you can be honest and say, I am exhausted, which is great. That you can be that honest with us. And a few more people have come into the room. Those people who have just joined us, hi. I'm just switching on your microphones. Please keep them on mute while we are not talking. As soon as you want to talk, you can unmute yourself. Those people who have just arrived, we were just making a start by saying, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling? 1 being terrible, 10 being fantastic, or otherwise just a word to describe your mood today. So if you could do that for us, those people who have just arrived, that would be great. Just so that you know, this session is being recorded. It's to enable those people that are unable to make it, to catch up if they'd like to. This is not a mandatory session. It's also a fairly informal session, and one in which I hope we can all just get to engage a little bit and maybe feel a little bit of a sense of community and a sense of kind of rounding up the week. So more than half of us are feeling quite tired. So I think that's a good thing for us to be gentle on the room and take that into consideration as we go into some discussions. So my next question is, how are you feeling at this stage in the course? All right. So you are now quite far down the line into the 12-week program. You've had quite a lot expected of you. You've been working extremely hard on yourself as an entrepreneur, on your business as it stands in the world right now. And I think what the more specifically, the question is, are you feeling like you are making progress? Yes, maybe no. Are you feeling like you're making progress? Yes, maybe no. Give me an answer in the chat. Fantastic. All right. So everybody's feeling like there is progress being made, and that's a very, very important thing, to have a sense of feeling like you're getting some traction, that you are learning something, that you are going forward. Because entrepreneurship, and I suppose any career really, there are a lot of backwards moves. There's a lot of feeling like there is no progress being made. So it's really great to have a sense of progress, a sense of feeling like there's a momentum moving forward. So congratulations, and I'm so glad that you are all feeling that. So today's session is looking at the business plan as a whole. And I'm going to call up my notes here, and it's a very short little presentation, and we're going to go into conversations around it. Let me just share my screen quickly. Everybody able to see the screen there? It says check-in. Cool. Let me just call out. I want to make sure the chat is here so I can see conversations. Fantastic. All right. So can you see that whole screen? I feel like there's... All right. So my very first question is, in just 2 sentences, can you tell me what your business is? And you don't have to put this in the chat, and you don't have to answer on the microphone either. But I want you to just try and do this in your mind in just 2 sentences. And I want you to now answer the question honestly in the chat or via your microphone. Were you able to concisely and genuinely explain what your business is in just 2 sentences? Yes, no. Just 2 sentences. Were you able to? Okay, fantastic. I'm very glad some people are saying yes, but I'm also very glad that some people are saying no. Okay, it's extremely difficult. So those people who have managed to distill this thing into extremely tight wording, I'm very proud of you, and I think it's something you should be proud of yourself of being able to do that. But the reason I ask this is because largely the people who are able to be very specific in a very short amount of words or paragraphs or sentences normally have gone through quite an extensive process of business planning. Because they've got all that stuff done, they're able to distill this thing into 2 simple sentences or into a short paragraph. Now, those people that have said yes, can you, and I'm going to ask people to actually start talking now. Can you tell me, was it always easy to explain your business in just 2 sentences? Was it always easy? Yes or no? Okay, Pumi, can I pick on you? Pumi, can you unmute yourself? And can you tell me why was it difficult?
Hi, everybody. So for me, it was really difficult because I started my business in 2020. And when you start things off, you sort of just don't know exactly how to word things because what you have in mind and what really goes on the field are two total different things. So, and when people ask you, so what do you actually, do? So, and to sum it up in like 2 sentences becomes like very difficult. But as you refine your ideas, as you said, as I've done my business plan, it just becomes sort of easier. And with even 1 sentence, you can, be able to relay the message to say, okay, this is exactly what I do. So it really just comes with practice and just literally just being involved in your business, like from a day to day. Then, yeah, it just gets better with time.
Fantastic. I like the reflection on the concept of time, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs you condense your experience into quite concentrated periods of time, and you think, oh, I can't get it. But over time, if you keep your brain working on it, and if you keep your efforts in engaged, you will get better at being able to concisely and accurately explain what it is you're doing. Thanks, Pumi, for that reflection. Offense, I think you said that you're able to articulate your business in 2 sentences, but you also said that it was quite challenging before. What has changed?
Hello, everyone. I think for me, just getting into planning the business and just giving myself time to learn what I'm doing so that in future I can know how to put in the words to explain the business, because it was very hard to explain the whole entire business in just such a short amount of time. But the more you go into it, then the more you plan it and the more you adjust your process to your business, it gets quite easy.
Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Offensive, for your input there. Cool. Let me just need to move my screen on here. Now, the tough question to those people who are feeling like they are in a place where they can articulate what their business is in two short sentences. They've got kind of this experience of planning. Critically, what do you think is the worst thing about your business plan as it stands right now? And I want some brave people to put their hand up and see if they can tell us what they think the worst thing about their business plan is. Okay, I've got 2 raised hands, but for some reason it's not telling me who they are. Let me just look here. Okay, Tulani, you're the first one. Tell me, share with us, what is the worst thing about your business plan?
It's conjuring up the financial plan. The works, your balance sheet, your income statement, and so forth. Mind you, most of our businesses were not actually financially savvy as the son. And most of the time when we're actually making up these plans, it's coming in from the head or something. Because even the bank balance, you might find that it's got 5.25 cents in it or something. How do you actually put that thing on a spreadsheet and what have you? And you don't even actually have the track of time of the customers that might actually buy or not buy from you or something. So it all becomes a guesswork or something
Absolutely.
until reality starts in, when there's no money coming in or there's money that's coming in.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thanks, Tulani. That's great. And I think there are a couple other people in the chat who are saying the financial part, the financial part, the financial part. Pumi, I'll let you jump in here as well. What's the worst thing about your business plan?
So for me, it's funny enough, also is the financial part, but for me, it's quite different because okay, so I had a business plan in place before with the financials, but I got funding. So after my funding, like a lot of things now have changed. So obviously, I then can't use those those financial projections because now I've got management accounts. So it's just sort of starting from point A again to say, okay, this is where my business is currently at right now, so it's like starting over basically and mapping out, okay, this is how the business has been performing. These are my management accounts. This is my balance sheet, so forth and so on. So it's just been like really challenging doing that.
So you think that's the worst part of your business plan, and that you feel like there's complexity that you haven't yet always kind of worked through. For me?
Hi, sorry, please repeat that. I lost you there. I couldn't hear you. Please just repeat that.
The worst part of your business business plan is the fact that the change or the shift that has happened for your business has meant that the plan has needed to change, and particularly in the financial aspect. Is that right?
100%, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anybody else want to jump in and give us some feedback on their worst parts? Hands up. No, Klein. Go for it.
Well, I think the hardest part right now is describing the product and the service, because I'm finding it hard to put into words how to describe my fashion line, because in the week of the activity, when we did the activity for describing it and I got my reflection, it just said that I did not have like the correct wording to describe it. I didn't really describe the whole thing, so they were really confused of what was happening.
Cool. And Nklata, how have you tackled that challenge? Have you started trying to resolve those challenges the coach gave you?
Yes, I'm looking into different business plans for fashion businesses, and just really studying how they put into words, how they describe their brand, so that I can just take a few pointers from each business plan and know what works for me, so that I can put into words something that really describes the type of brand that I'm doing.
Okay, cool. So you're learning from others that have gone before. I think that's a fantastic way of going about it. I'd like to also encourage you to not necessarily stay within your industry, because there's something to be learnt from industries outside of your own in the clarity that they're able to use to articulate certain aspects of their business. So it might be useful to think about alternative, businesses that you may be able to simulate some of that way of wording what it is you're trying to do in the business plan. Does that make sense? Cool. All right. Anybody else want to quickly tell us what their worst thing about their business plan is? Noklantla?
Hi everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. My name is Nonhlanhla. My business is about agricultural advisory services, and since I'm a service business, I have a standard rate, and it's very hard to put that into my financial plans because you don't know how many clients you're gonna get, and you don't know what, because I have packages in my business, and every package is different. So sometimes I don't know how to plan which customer or which client is going to use the golden package or the bronze package, and it's just really difficult to put that. And with farmers and prices changing every now and then, for example,
Yes.
the poultry prices have changed, the eggs prices have changed, the chicken prices have changed, and soon the rice price is going to change as well. So it's just, you constantly have to change a lot of things in the business plan, and yeah, that's the difficult part for me.
And I mean, I think I can hear you. I mean, that is such a challenging part of any business, is all the unknown. So how do we deal with this? Does anybody have a suggestion for us? How do we deal with this unknown element all the time? What is the way that businesses or entrepreneurs handle unfamiliar, unknown, complex? Vuyo? Sorry, Vuyo Wetu is the full name. You can unmute yourself and you want to respond to my question there. Okay, maybe we're struggling with unmuting. Anybody else want to try and jump in here and let's have a conversation around this? Noklantla said it's so challenging because things change, and I don't know who's going to buy this, who's going to buy that. I don't know when the pricing changes. So how do us as entrepreneurs, how do we deal with these unknowns? What is the way of how do you deal with it? Anybody want to jump in?
Tulani here.
Go for it, Tulani.
Yes. With me, it's like your first day at the boarding school or something. You don't know whether you're going to be bullied or you are with one that is going to be a bully or one of the things in there. You just close your eyes, shut down your mind, and then you literally deal with the things like we are actually going. It's like if we are going in for funding unprepared, and then they merely ask you the question, how much do you need from us? You're worried whether if you take the high ball, you'll be too off track. If you ask too low, nobody will actually take you seriously or something. You just pay, spray and pray. That's the kind of the things that you actually have.
It's definitely one way to go about it, Tulani. Absolutely, there's definitely one way. But anybody else want to? I think Vuyo Wetu, are you able to try answer now? Your microphone working? Oh damn. Vuyo Wetu says, I wanted to say I look at my previous 3 months and come up with an estimate to project into the future. Okay, fantastic. Noklantla, you had your hand up again. You want to comment?
Okay, one of the tricks that I've basically brought into my business is just looking at the trends in agriculture and the trends around the world, just globally in agriculture, has helped me to be able to deal with this, basically. So I look at how farming is done in other parts of the country, I mean in other parts of the continent and in other continents as well. So
Yeah.
looking at trends, has helped me deal with my situation.
Absolutely. So there's a significant aspect of looking at what has gone before, and what is currently happening to the best of your ability. But I think the other point to be made here, is that this is the trick of entrepreneurship often is one's ability to estimate, or to try and, with the information that is available to you right now, make assumptions with that knowledge, and test models and test ideas and imagine possible scenarios. And this is the creativity of entrepreneurship. So what happens if this happens and then that happens? How would we be able to spin it? How would we be able to adapt? How many people do you think we could, get in on this product line or on that product line? So a lot of it is speculation, and a lot of it is modeling. Now, you'll get better and better at modeling as your experience grows within your particular industry, and as you get stronger as an entrepreneur, you will make mistakes, without a doubt. Your business plan right now isn't right, and I can tell you now, it'll never be right because of this word. It has to remain dynamic. So I'm pulling this last comment back to what the business plan is. Your business plan is never finished. It is an evolving document, and it's a dynamic document because it is something that has to be played with and adjusted and tweaked and reworked and tweaked again and adjusted as the days go by, as you learn more, as the market shifts, as macroeconomics evolve, as geopolitical things happen, as wars take place, as droughts happen. All of these things, and this sounds overwhelming, but this is the exciting part about having a good plan, is that when a plan is good, it is dynamic enough to be played with, to evolve. It's a starting point. It's a document that can be a guiding principle or launch pad for how you work. So a lot of what was coming up in this last sort of 10 minutes around what is the most difficult is the financial aspect of the business plan. And the reason it is so challenging, and why people often say, and don't think that you're alone in this, almost every time you ask an entrepreneur, what's the worst thing about your business plan? They normally say, the financial part of that. Because this is probably where things are changing the most. This is where your dynamic approach to your entrepreneurial journey is constantly being questioned. It's being challenged, and you need to be able to change and shift that. So, you had some great advice in terms of scenario planning, in terms of looking at trends. These are definitely some ways of doing it. Tulani says, there's sometimes you've got to just kind of go with it. And I think that is also an option. And sometimes you do need to jump in to know what you don't know, to establish what works and what doesn't work. Obviously, you need to mitigate major risks when you do something like that. You need to be very careful that you're not going to break your business or yourself by taking an measured approach. But that is definitely one aspect. So the word dynamic is going to be the kind of the leading word for today's session. And the one I want you to take away is that a business plan is never, ever complete. So here's the next more positive question. What is the best thing about your business plan as it stands right now? Hands up, who would like to tell me what the best part of their business is? Our business plan, sorry. Hands up. Otherwise, I'm going to pick on people. You all have to have a best part of your business plan. So I don't feel bad asking you. Tulani, what's the best part?
It is the operation. I'm saying it's an operation because even though we're an agricultural outfit, we're actually looking at innovative ways of doing farming. Things like no-dig, no-till farming, where we don't actually turn in the ground. our rooftop gardens are the ones that you are doing. The way that we transform waste, like your 5-liter plastic bottles, cutting them at the shoulders, punching them for filtration, and planting on it. Because in that one fell swap, we're mitigating climate change, we're reinforcing, the food supply by, planting where where most people don't think of actually planting in there. Our
So
ability,
your favorite part is your innovative operation. So that and that
exactly our strategies.
and that thing is, and the reason often entrepreneurs find that the operational side of it is what makes them so excited. And I wonder if anybody else feels that this is what they like the most about their business plan, is because it's the heart of the entrepreneurial. You own that. It's your baby. It's your business. The thing that your business does. It's no wonder that that is the thing that makes you excited. What's really, really important, though, is that is one aspect of an entire business plan, because without it falling back into understanding what the financial model is or isn't, how it's going to grow or not grow, what the 5-year plans are, what is the strategies around the operation, the whole picture is so important. And that's what's quite what I'd like to drive home here is, you will have a favorite part, or you'll think it's the best part about it, but it is only as good as every other part of your plan and of your strategy. So thanks so much, Tulani, and I love what Vuelwetu says in terms of their favorite part. Is that for me, it's the vision and the mission, the why. Does anybody else feel that way about their business plan, that they've managed to just clearly articulate the vision and the mission, and that thing guides the entire plan so perfectly, and you're super proud of it? I think, Kabelo, you probably also saying the executive summary, it's probably similarly that you've managed to encapsulate something in words in a document, and it's something you definitely should be proud of. So that's fantastic. Anybody else want to tell me what the best thing is about their business plan? There was another hand that came up, it's gone down. I'll have to go and look for it. I'm going to have to pick on some people. Fani, tell me, what's the best thing about your business plan? Fani Mazibuko.
Hi guys, I'm into solar panel installation. The best part also on my side, it's the executive summary and mail on the finance part, sales forecasting. Even though it's challenging, but it gives me something to strive for in my business.
Brilliant. I like that, the forecasting, and that is something that I encourage everybody to get excited about, because it's really, really a powerful tool for all sorts of reasons, but it's a big motivator to be able to forecast accurately. And when those things start to happen, it really is a massively rewarding experience for any entrepreneur to go through that. What I looked at and what I thought could happen, now that I've implemented, is happening. And when it isn't happening, how do you adjust this thing? And this is the whole word dynamic. How do you, now you've done the forecasting and you've run this thing and it changes. Now what do I do to be dynamic and shift to either reforecast or rejig my operation, rejig my my strategy, my planning, so that I can hit those forecasts? Brilliant. Thanks so much for Fani for taking me up on putting you on the spot. For me, Pumi says that it has to be the business achievements thus far. I think that's fantastic. It's very important to be able to articulate what has been successful in the past. Tebogo says the marketing strategy for them is the best part, because it gives direction as to how we will reach the target goals and get all our target clients. Great. Anybody else want to add what their favorite part is before we move on? Okay. So there are a few key parts that I just wanted to mention in, and this is now I'm putting on my hat as a person who's been fortunate enough to sit in a room with investors while they are grilling and engaging with startups around their business plans and asking hard questions about what's going on inside that plan before they even prepare to consider putting any money or support towards it. And I know that you've gone through the process quite extensively in the Startup School's course, and you're working on drafting your business plan. But these 6 questions are often missing, and I want you to perhaps take these notes down and do a bit of a check on your list, against your business plan. What are the values and why are they important to you as your organization? Have you put this in? Have you built it in some way into your plan? How do you define your purpose? And right at the beginning, when I say, can you put this business into 2 sentences? Very often those that can do that have answered beautifully what their purpose is. What is your market made up of? Not just who your market is, what is it made up of? Not just that part that you're selling to. How is the broader market influencing or not influencing? Where does this market sit? And what is your brand promise? Have you put this into your plan? The way I like to challenge entrepreneurs on understanding the meaning of brand promise is, it's the promise that you make that if you don't deliver on, you should give the money back to the client. That's your brand promise. If you do not deliver on what you say, you should give that money back to the person who's paid you for that. So what is that promise? What promise do you make as a brand, as a company, as an organization, as an operation, that if you fail to deliver on, you would need to refund that client? What is your value proposition? What are you really, really giving of value? And succinctly, what is it? Why would I pay any money towards what it is you're offering? What is your value proposition? And can I find that fast in your business plan? Is it there? Is it front and center? Does it hit me in the middle of my eyes every time I think about your brand? Do I know what your value proposition is? If I have to scratch, if an investor has to try and find or remember, oh, what was their value proposition again? You failed at your business plan. And we say that again. If an investor cannot remember immediately what your value proposition is, you have not defined your value proposition properly. And that is a very critical point for me to drum home. Is it clear? Clear, clear, clear. You have to make sure it's there. And then this is an interesting one. What are your rhythms? I wonder if anybody can tell me what I mean, or what an investor means when they say, what are your rhythms? Anybody want to guess? And then no, don't worry if you get the answer wrong. I just want to see if anybody understands when I say, if somebody were to ask you as a business, when they're looking at your business plan, they look up at you and they say, what are your rhythms? Tell me, does anybody know what an investor could be asking when they ask this? Come, guesses. Let's have guesses. Hands
I will
up.
hazard the guess, yeah.
Go for it, Tilani.
Sure. I think it's the communication tools that you are actually having as an organization. How often do you do it? Who takes part in those meetings or those communication events that you are actually having, when the instructions are given or when the feedback is being taken? That's my hazardous guess.
Yeah, and it's a very good guess. And it's right on the mark. Anybody else want to add to that? Anybody else want to add to that? Okay, so it is certainly around communication. It's around on what principles are you basing the way that you're talking to your employees, as well as how you are talking to your investors. How are you reporting to your stakeholders? When are you telling us what is happening? Am I going to get a monthly update? Am I going to get a weekly update? And this is very dependent on businesses. So if you run a manufacturing outfit with complex inputs, with high costs in terms of the inputs, rhythms are become absolutely critical to the business's viability. If you're unable to report on what's happening on a regular basis using specific rhythms that are understandable by an investor or stakeholder or your people who are working for you or your partners, then you're not a trustworthy business, because you haven't understood the importance of the rhythms of reporting, on the rhythms of communication, on the rhythms of operation. So these are things that investors will ask about. They'll say, so when are you checking on your when are you doing an assessment on your cash flow? How often are you doing that? When do the shareholders meet? Is it every quarter? Is that good enough? Should they be meeting every other week in the start of your operation? Anyway, all of these things are key considerations, and they need to be put in your business plan for yourselves, because that's you need to understand that there's something you hold yourself accountable to. But an investor will also want to know, because this shows them that you understand the importance of measuring, of checking in, of keeping something consistent for a measuring tool for the success and the progress of your operation. Does that make sense? Anybody want to ask a question on those 6 considerations that I've picked up over the years, working with being a fly on the wall with investors and entrepreneurs? Any questions on this? Somebody's talking. I don't know who.
I would like to ask for the people management and personnel organization and management team. Does the rhythm apply to that section? Because
Very often.
In this week's activity, I wrote that as the emotional culture. I was going to explain it as the emotional culture from week 7, but I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing.
So explain. Sorry, I know you asked. Can you rephrase the question for me? So you're asking whether the rhythms has to do with team culture.
Yes, the organization and management of the team.
Okay, so brilliant question, because there are 2 aspects to the business plan. There's the business plan that you work towards as the business owner, as the entrepreneur, and certainly company culture and the rhythms of that flow are critical to you. As an investor, or if you're using this business plan to talk to somebody who's potentially an investor or a stakeholder, a potential new partner, you don't need to necessarily go into too much detail around the organizational culture. They will want to know the rhythms of communication. How are you getting what you need to get out of your people? How are you achieving the strategy that you've outlined in your business plan, using communication, using whether it's whether you're using the one-page strategic plan and having a daily stand-ups or weekly catch-up, whatever that might be. But both are, what I'm saying is both are critical. Your audience, in terms of who's going to be accessing or who you're showing this business plan to, or who you're walking through it, will depend. It'll depend on the level of detail that you're going to go to. Does that make sense? Cool. I hope so. I'm not sure whether are you happy? Okay, cool. Thanks, Offensa. All right. Any other question? Tulani, go for it.
Okay. With me on this one, what's your market made up of? As for my organization, I think there are 3 important elements that's behind that drives our purpose for being. For example, it's a planet. Like, how do we make this planet better? By reducing greenhouse gases, or 2, the plans of how do we offset this rampant deforestation that the globe has been subjected to. And then being the third element, being the people. We're talking about our workers, we're talking about our clients, we're talking about our shareholders. And we're talking about even those that are dependent on us, even though they're not actually part of our businesses. For example, the communities that we're working in. Could I say those are the elements that make up the market that I need to serve?
Absolutely.
That's the question.
It's quite a loaded and complex question, and it is often business dependent as to how one wants to look, what it's made up of. But essentially, what I'm getting at here is, and you've hit the nail on the head, that there is no market that doesn't live that lives out in complete isolation of all of the rest of the market. So there are always influences and dynamics that flow between how you've segmented your market. So I want to be careful about using specific examples here because it is different from business to business. But to your point, you might be selling to a certain kind of market person, and you've managed to identify that market, be it small scale farmers in X area selling only, working only in cash crops. That's fine because you've been very clear, and you need to be very clear as to what your market is. But how does that particular market fit into the world, into the rest of the market, and how does the rest of the market potentially influence them? So if it's a cash crop, and as I say, I'm not in agricultural, so in that space, but perhaps the way that the fertilizer market operates is extremely influential on this particular market, and you need to then consider that as an umbrella kind of understanding, and be able to show in your business plan that you've considered the onion. Where are the layers? Where are the influences? How do these pieces all fit together or not? It gets extremely complicated, and obviously you can't account for absolutely everything. But a stakeholder who's looking at your business plan is going to be much more confident of a person who has not just managed to, has been able to articulate their particular market, but understand that market doesn't exist in a vacuum, that there's a substantial amount of other pieces to that market, and it's made up of this complex kind of system. Lots of words there, but I hope that makes some sense. But Tulani, you're on the money there. Cool. Any other questions before I move on to the last two slides on this particular slide? Okay. So given that I've now complicated your life and said that you need to consider those 6 things very strongly when you are working on your business plan and refining, is that these 3 words are always important when you're using a business plan outside of your organization. Oh, Pumi, go for it. Pumi, definitely, before I move on.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so on the previous slide, what is your market made up of? So I get a bit confused there. So do you specifically need to mention, okay, because I've literally pinned it down, like in terms of this is the person, or these are the group of people that would like to sell to. And should you also refer to like numbers, that there's 50,000, for example, people of these type of people in South Africa? Should you like literally pin it down to that?
The tighter you get, the more the better you can serve that market. But what I was making the point slightly earlier was that you also need to show that you understand that even as specific as you've got, you recognize that person exists in a broader market sense, with other influences, with other considerations. But you're 100% right. If you go down to the absolute specifics, there's this serviceable, there are 3,253 people who would buy this product, and they live there and they buy there, and the more accurate you are, the better, the easier it is. I mean, the action to get there then is that much clearer than when somebody says, oh, the whole of South Africa is my market. You know, it's definitely getting down to the numbers if you can. So you are on the right track of getting as specific as possible. Does that answer your question, Pumi?
100%. Thank you.
Okay, so now that I've said, you know, all this complexity, and I said you need to consider all these things, there's 3 words that I want you to bear in mind when you are creating your working on a regular basis because of this other word, dynamic. Constantly strive for clarity, simplification, and appeal. Clarity, it goes without saying that the clearer your plan, the easier it is to execute on. Simplification is also extremely important. We're very, very good as entrepreneurs to eventually get so complicated that we stop understanding our own plan. Sometimes the action of simplifying what it is you've got is a way of clearing the clutter. Clearing the clutter. Get rid of the stuff that doesn't make it's making it too complex and unreasonable to execute on. Simplify. And ultimately, it needs to be appealing to you and your team and the people who you may be bringing on board. So these 3 words are absolutely critical adjectives to describe a business plan. And again, when I sit in a room with investors and they're looking and they're talking to startups, the best compliments that they give, and often when they ultimately decide to commit money or commit resources to a business, is when they say, "Yo, I really like Offence's business and the business plan because it was so clear, it was simple, and it really, really made me want to buy the product. Really, really made me want to invest in that business. It was such an appealing business plan." So if you can use these 3 adjectives as guiding principles when you are refining your business plan for a third party or an outsider to look at, it's very, very, you know, you're on the right track. Bear in mind that when it comes to your own, as a business owner and as the entrepreneur, your business plan is going to be complicated. The one that the master plan, the one that sits in your brain all the time and that you constantly are changing on your computer and you're writing in your notes. It's going to get big and messy and hairy, and it's going to grow all sorts of arms and feet and legs and get crazy. Bring it back always for yourself as well. Clarify, simplify, make it appealing, make it seem like, make it attractive to yourself, make it something that you want, something that you are hungry for. Because if it isn't that, why would you action the plan? Why would you? You know. And then the final word, which adds to the 4th one, is that we cannot forget that a business plan, by definition, has to be dynamic. And dynamic means it is able to change. It is able to shift. But it doesn't just change. A dynamic thing doesn't change for the sake of changing. It changes to become better. It changes to adapt, to respond to the situation or the context, to become faster, to become bigger, to become stronger. These are the things you want to achieve by making those shifts and the changes within your plan. I hope that makes some sense. And we've got 5 more minutes, so I wanted to leave the last 5 minutes up to any comments or questions that you want to raise, anything that you want to say about the business plan or where your head is at now. The floor's open. So hands up who would like to make a comment or ask a question. Offensa, go for it.
I wanted to ask about the financial plan of the business, because for me, I'm in the startup phase of the business, so I don't have really tangible numbers to put into the financial plan. So I'm really confused to, like, how do I estimate for things like the rent, how much I'm going to pay models, how I'm going to make the cost of things work in a financial platform if I don't really have anything tangible that I'm holding to show investors.
Okay, so there are 2 ways of approaching it. The first way is to ask other businesses who have similar, situations. So what is rent? Typical, if you're looking for an X size studio in X part of the world, do your best to get quotes on that. As if there's no harm in asking for people to give you a quote on rent, on equipment. What would a model hiring fee cost? Phone those agencies. Get as many numbers that are real as possible. Where the numbers don't exist, you're going to have to do the best guesswork you can. And because, Offensa, you are in this business, trust that you understand what it would cost. By that I mean, like, sometimes we're so worried about making a mistake on the numbers. You're going to make mistakes in the numbers. You are definitely going to make mistakes. We need to learn from those mistakes and get better at our guessing next time. But don't hide away from trying to get as accurate as possible. So the first thing is get the quotes, do the homework. Imagine that your business is already running. Get on the phone and phone that studio that you saw advertised in Sandton. What's it going to cost? And then put all those numbers down, and then you'll be in the best possible position. And then, as I say, the second thing is do the best guessing you can do. And there are many, many, many businesses who have done, broken into the scene without great information on what the costs would be. They've had to establish the costs as they move along. But you've got to do the best you can right now. And do not shy away from putting those numbers into a spreadsheet and playing with them. See what happens. Because you can also, and you get the power of this is that you can start to go, well, hang on, maybe that 25,000 Rand rent that's not doable. So what can I do? Okay, well, I can share a studio with X for 9,000 Rand a month, and I can get 5 days, which is all I actually need. And if you understand what I'm saying, you can start to model these things out when you've committed some stuff to paper. Does that help, Offensa? Cool. All right. Cabello says, clarity on whether it's possible to use PowerPoint instead of MS Word for the business plan. Yeah, that's fine. Not a problem. Just make sure that whatever medium you use is suitable to your purpose, that it makes sense, but also that your audience is going to be able to read it. Now, and I'll tell you now, if your audience is a bank, they are going to want an absolutely straightforward document that makes sense. It's ordered carefully. It's, what it is. But if you're going to an angel investor who's a dynamic, perhaps who's invested in kind of new fintechy sort of stuff, they may want you to provide it in a different format, in a more like a modern way, perhaps using something like Canva and creating a interactive presentation. You have to understand what your audience is going to be. For you, though, as an entrepreneur working with the plan, what is a document that you can consistently change, evolve, track your changes, so that you're also versioning your things. So this is my business plan version 1 of November 17th, and make sure you can track your changes so that you know that you can go back. You haven't lost any thinking. That's a practical document. But presentation wise, you have to figure out what your audience is going to want. Okay, Pumi, I think you had your hand up next, and I think it's probably the last question we can take, or comment we can take. Go for it, Pumi.
Thank you. I'll be very quick. So my question is, I saw in the assignment it says 6 pages. Is it possible, or is it permissible rather, to make it more than 6 pages? Because I'm just thinking about if you are already up and running and you have to include, maybe other critical information. 6 pages might be a bit limited. So is this permissible? Second question, if you're already like up and running, can you include things that are already there, like your management accounts, maybe from, from the beginning of the year? Yes, as addendums. Yes, yeah, things like that. Is that also allowed? Yeah, that's all from me.
As addendums, particularly if you're building a case for an investor, absolutely. In terms of the page limit, this is not school and that you're going to get penalized. But I can tell you now that even investors who have lots of money want crisp, clean, high level information in the shortest, hardest hitting way possible. Should they want more information, they will ask you for more. So learn to get as tight as you can, obviously without losing the essence of your whole plan. So it's not I haven't got a firm answer for you, but try stick to what you can, to the 6 pages if you can, and add those addendums should that information be it will be helpful to an investor, but it may not be absolutely essential in the core of the actual plan. Does that make sense for me?
Oh,
Yes,
sorry, I was actually typing. Yeah. Can you also include letters of intent?
No, you definitely could, particularly when you're dealing with investors. Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you.
Fantastic, guys. It is now 1 o'clock. Thank you for a really lovely session, and thank you so much for everybody who was prepared to share, and those that were listening. Thank you so much for listening. I hope there was some useful bits and pieces, but more importantly, I hope that you got a sense of some of your fellow entrepreneurs and that you're in a similar situation, that you all are working towards something pretty amazing. And I look forward to seeing your pictures at the end of the program. Tomelo, yes, the recording will be made available on the campus, so you will be able to see it. But I hope that you all have a fantastic Friday afternoon, an even better weekend, rest, and get ready for the hustle next week. Thank you so much, and keep well.